Finally got some waves.
Yeah, no. Dude, yesterday was fun, bro. Jay said it was like knee high.
Wearing his dreams.
Dude, he was saying it was small yesterday, bro. I remember there was a couple sets that were like 12 feet.
You mean like
occasional 15 feet.
Like triple over toe.
For a squirrel.
The North Florida swell. Alright, where's this fool at? Beep beep.
Joe's supposed to be in the back. The elders are supposed to sit in the front. Yeah. What's up?
Oh, dude. Did you know Gilberto finally got that album out from the last movie up on Spotify? It's cranking.
What, from the last surf film?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, no way, dude. You heard it?
I'm listening to it right now. Yeah, dude, you can find it on Spotify looking up Local Motion.
YouTube too, right?
Yeah, brother.
Awesome.
The new one's coming out though this Saturday at Mokama.
What are you doing? Don't hit that trash truck.
Dude, did you know I got barreled a couple weeks ago?
Man, you mean you got a head, dude?
No, dude, I swear I got barreled. I got so deep in the pit, Scott from the surf shop was like, whoa!
Was he having a stroke?
No, dude, he couldn't believe what just happened. I told him I got in the barrel like a couple days before that, and he didn't believe it, but he saw it, and now he believes it.
Sick, man.
I didn't come out, but I was in there, and I saw the vision. It was pretty.
Did you get it on film?
I got it in mental shot, bro.
He got the middle clip.
Man, I'm trying to figure out, like, how to get in more barrels and what board.
You gotta have the right gear for the job, bro.
Dude, I wonder who we should call, man, because I'm trying to get the right tools for that job, man.
All kinds of local shapers out there, man.
Who do you think, bro?
I don't know. I mean, I would start with at least with a Mike Whisnant.
Yeah.
You know?
We got some local folks, too, don't we?
ROZO. Oh, freaking Mike Nichols.
Mike Nichols, that's right. And Pedro Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
I think Justin Laird, he's on the island.
Laird Surf Craft, man. Yep.
And then we got Whisnant, like you said. And I know Noah, he rides for that dude, Orion Surfboard, Greg Geiselman.
Oh, dude, that's the best board I've ever had.
Dude, that dude's a goat of shapers, man. Who else, bro? We got Tony with Clean Ocean Surfboards. We should hit him. I know Justin rents some space from him at his shop.
Where's he out of?
Atlantic Beach, dude.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I know Pedro Rodriguez knows some of those folks. Let me hit him up.
I would, dude. Because if you got the right tool for the job, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Oh, dude, what's it looking like out there?
I see little swells out there.
All right, let's go. What do y'all think?
Let's do it, buddy.
Many barrels.
It would be very, very interesting to have a legend like that in your background. You know what I mean? Oh man, I talked to this guy. He brought me those names. Unbelievable. He shaped for those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
He will tell you how, how in Florida they start. What was the first longboards that he used to shape before, like nobody else.
All right, I'll look into it. I'll reach out to him. That's a good idea.
What I will do, I will call him Mike, and I will tell him that you tried to do this, and then I will put you in contact with him in the next couple of weeks.
All right, right on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's good, man. I'm telling you, now that you're moving and stuff like that, I think it would be really, really well for you having somebody like that. He can tell you about history and, time and styles.
Yeah, for sure.
No better than him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. Well, I appreciate your time. I will catch up with you later then, Pedro, whenever you're free. And then...
Okay.
And this is where all the magic happens. But to make a board magic, there's 6 things. The template, the rocker, the bottom, the rails, the thickness, and the fin placement. Each one of those things has a major effect on the board, and you can make each one of those things loose or stiff. So each one has a loosening effect. And for instance, the template Since you surf the board from the tail and there's no motors, those are the two constants in surfing. So if you're back here, the wider the tail, the easier the board planes out because you ride on top of the water. When you sit in the water and paddle, the faster you paddle, the more on top of the water you become to where you actually start riding the wave and you can stand up. It's like being able to ride a bike without pedaling. At a certain speed, you can stop and just coast. And that's the essence of getting up on surfing. But the template, the wider the tail, the looser the board. The rocker, when it comes to rocker, that's not enough, that's too much. So super important thing about rocker is where air and water meet. That's the entry point. And if it's in the right place, the board paddles good and it never pearls, nosedives. If it's in the wrong place, it might paddle good, but you'll dig a rail, you'll pearl every time. If it's too far back, the board will push water and you'll have a hard time catching waves. So that's the template in the rocker. The rails, the shape of my rails are down. The down rails is like the front edge of an airplane wing. As the air passes over it, it takes longer to go over the top and it forms a low pressure area and lifts, so it gives lift. There's two styles of longboards. There's this style, down rails, tucked under, soft and forgiving, but they give lift. These kind of boards, you can actually pump the board and get speed. The other style of board is way less rocker, real pinched rails, round bottom, slow boards. Those boards I grew up with, I don't make boards like that anymore. There's a ton of companies that like that nostalgia trip, and they're available at your local surf shop. The next thing is thickness. That's the missing link. I'm 74 years old. I want my boards medium thick. There's a kid that weighs what I weigh, 160. He's in high school. He wants his boards super thin. He has nothing to do with a longboard. He wants to have his short board and pump and, bunny hop, and I don't blame him. But in Florida's a two-board state. You want a longboard for every day. You ride this 80% of the time, but you want to have a hot dog board, something like a little sports car. So when the waves do get good, you can haul ass. And what's the ironic thing about it is you can catch more waves on a big board, but because of the surface area on a big wave, it actually slows down by the friction, where the little board has such a small surface area touching the water that it goes faster. And because it's a little board, you have to use hydrodynamic stuff like concaves and edges to get lift, and makes the board plane out a lot quicker. So then, the last thing, I think, is fin placement. You can take the best shaped board in the world and glass a fin way back on the tail, and the board's a piece of shit. So my saying is, everything matters, so nothing matters. Just like when you get in your car, you want to turn it on, you want the brakes to work, you want the transmission to work, you want it to go in reverse, you want the windows to go up and down, you want the AC to work, the radio, CD. Everything matters, so nothing matters. That's my little saying. And so that's how the 6 things make the board magic. Template, rocker, bottom, rails, thickness, fin placement. You want to write that down? I'll go over it again. Get your pencils out, get a pencil and paper out, and get ready. There'll be a quiz at the end of this show, so tell mom and dad you're studying. All right, we're going to take a break right now and figure out our next topic, so I'll be right back.
A mid-length used to be, it was considered a fun shape. That was back in the 80s and 90s. That was the fun shape. Now they're called mid-lengths. The mid-length I do them think down to, I'll do anything, but I've done them, I know recently down to like probably 6'4", and it's still got that mid-length shape, which really it's more of an egg. I would consider it an egg, not a mid-length. A mid-length is something in the mid-7 foot range. But yeah, it's, oh gosh. Yeah, there's, you know, so many different companies have so many different models. I decided to just adapt to their models instead of trying to come up. I've got a few of my own, but my models are basically a collaboration of different models. Like I do, like, you know, like in the performance side, I've got a model called the Rockstar, which that board actually is kind of a little bit of a lost subdriver, a little bit of a Channel Island, let's see, what model would it be? Probably closer to the Happy, and in a Sharpite disco-ish, or it can be kind of closer to the 77. There's a couple of different models in there that they're all the same. They just have different names, and they might be, you know, they say that they do different things to them, but they don't. They're all the California boards are all single concaves.
Yeah.
I don't do any single concaves.
Gotcha.
So for me, shaping in north central Florida, a lot of the boards we do around here, we build pretty much for most of the brakes. All the brakes are different. New Smyrna's kind of a wedgy peak, more a board going on rail roundhouse. Where you go to Ponce, there might be a little bit more coming out of a peak down the line. Go to St. Augustine, you're more beach brake, maybe some pier. You go to Jacksonville or Fernandina, you got anything from Little Talbot to, you know, dumpy Fernandina, where, you know, you want your boards to fit in that real punchy short wave. So for us, we build all our stock boards kind of general, so anybody that walks into the shops or customers, they work good and fairly good in all conditions, and then the better the surfer is, I think we tailor it more towards where they're surfing. And if they're going outside competition-wise, we'll tailor the board to where they're going for competition, because I don't think there's one Swiss Army knife. They're close, but really good guys, they kind of know what they want, and we fit the board to their needs.
Skip Fry was an influence on me, because I started shaping right from that area. Basically I was taught the Skip Fry method of shaping because the guy I learned directly from Skip. I love Hank Bizak's shapes. Not many people know him, but he's a really good log shaper, super clean. I've known Jim Phillips since I was like 15, so he was an influence.
Nice.
For shortboard stuff, I'd have to say my biggest influences were Jeff Bushman, because growing up, I rode a lot of his boards, and Peter Benjamin, because I rode more of their boards. You know, it's function. Function should be first.
Right.
It should always be function first. And the artists in the surfboard industry were always guys that, over the years, have just gotten so good at what they do that you look at their stuff and you're like, how the hell did that guy do that? You know, to me, that's an artist in this business.
Yeah.
You know, when you just look and look, like Hap Jacobs was an artist. His shapes were just so unbelievably clean. Jim Phillips is an artist. You know, his stuff is just like, you see it, you know that's Jim's work. Guys that just have super clean work, you know. There's glassers out there, pin liners that are just so tight. You're like, damn.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, those are the artists, not just people doing crazy shit.
You know, you
run them through the machine, get it dialed in, check your rocker, shape the board, check your rocker, you know, and then shape the board and check your rocker. Because you can take, like, so I've got 3 or 4 variations in outline, and the reason I've done that is I like my rocker a certain way. So there's different outlines that work with the same rocker. You know, another one back to Tyler Hitziki, and he's got the Tyler wing nose. I had one of those. I didn't love his rocker profile on it. I liked the theory of it. I liked the outline. So I recreated something that was a little more appealing to me as far as the outline goes, like for my eye. You know, but I used a very similar rocker. So all the boards you have in here, you've got like a little bit wider versions. It's got a wider tail like yours, a little bit wider nose. Those are like your wave catching machines, a little more for the novice guy who's just going to, you know, wants to get every single wave. It's going to have that same flat spot in the middle, so they can be a beginner. They can stand in the middle of the board, and they're going to go just as fast as you standing in the middle of the board. It's not going to be any difference whatsoever.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's make one. And I remember I went to Surf Expo that year, and there was one stand-up paddle board there, and it was Laird Hamilton. A guy named Ron House designed it. And it was just, and of course, Laird's boards were like 12 feet long, huge, big old beast, right? I'm like, oh, man, I don't think I can find a piece of foam that big. So the biggest piece of foam, EPS foam I could find at the time was 10 feet long. So my stand-up board was 10 feet long. And it was 36 inches wide. And we called it the manta ray because that big. Because I was trying to keep foam everywhere. I just thought it had to be big. Right. And probably for the first year or two, everybody who learned how to stand up paddleboard on this island learned on the beast. Because there were no. You couldn't walk into a surf shop and buy one.
A person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts. So, he loses touch with reality and lives in a world of illusions. By thoughts, I mean specifically chatter in the skull, perpetual and compulsive repetition of words, of reckoning and calculating. I'm not saying that thinking is bad. Like everything else, it's useful in moderation. A good servant, but a bad master. And all so-called civilized peoples have increasingly become crazy and self-destructive because through excessive thinking they have lost touch with reality. That's to say, we confuse science with the real world.